Clinton, and I am actually coming to you live from Senggigi, which is in Lombok, which is in southern Indonesia. So that's where we're at right now.
Nice. Well, welcome to the show. It's so great to have you on today. And so you're staying right now at a Marriott. Now, I'm going to just touch on that real quick because we were just chatting about that before the show. And I know that that's probably a big question that a lot of folks out there that want to live this sort of freedom lifestyle and want to live and work from all around the world. And they're wondering, could I actually stay at a Marriott, or do I need to be like balling like Mr. Roy Meyer to be able to afford that? And I'm just playing around here, but I would imagine that's a more expensive option than let's say an Airbnb, for example. So maybe you could just talk to us a little bit about that. I know you have a lot of experience with Marriott.
Yeah, this is something we actually just kind of fell into. When we took off on this journey, we never expected to be spending so much time in a Marriott. And we have spent, in almost 3 years of full-time travel now, we've spent about 850 nights at a Marriott.
Oh my
goodness.
So
that was not the plan. But what happened when we were in the Philippines, they had a brand new Marriott that opened up. And we at that point, we hadn't been staying at Marriott, so we really needed a good shower and a good bed. And we fell in love with the general manager there, and we ended up spending 4.5 months at that Marriott. And what happened is we fell into the rewards program, the Bonvoy program, which we didn't really know anything about. And we learned about what you can do with points and all the other avenues that you can do by working the reward system.
Yeah.
And so we went from the bottom level to the top tier, in a matter of a few months.
Nice.
And the reason we stay at the Marriotts now, for a couple of reasons, and we do Airbnb as well, but mainly it's the Marriott, is one, they have such a great reward system, meaning like where we're at right now in Senggigi, we have a phenomenal rate. And honestly, I don't know that we could get a better rate at Airbnb, but we get some unbelievable upgrades. So here we get a standard room.
Okay.
And they upgraded us from a standard room to like a presidential suite of about 1,400 square feet and 3 baths and 2 bedrooms. Wow. And huge deck and right off the ocean and pool. So we get a lot of upgrades. But the bigger part, the reason we do it now, is we meet the most incredible people. Yeah. And we have met so many incredible people, meaning staff-wise, where they've been able to introduce us to a little bit more of the culture and the people and opportunities and experiences that if we were just in an Airbnb, we probably wouldn't get that same knowledge or feedback.
Absolutely.
Forward. And then not to mention, we've met some incredible people traveling this from a business perspective.
Yeah.
Now, there's so many opportunities. Would I recommend to Marriott? Absolutely. I mean, because we love it and there's a reason we do it. And also, by the way, they always have good internet. But there are so many other options, whether you're a family, whether you're a single traveler, or even here in Senggigi, you could find an incredible place to stay for as little as $10, $15 a night.
Wow.
So the opportunities out there are endless from whatever it is, your comfort level, whatever it is you're looking for. Now, a lot of people have a stigma with the Marriott that's super expensive. Now, we're in the COVID terms right now, or COVID times right now. And this is incredibly cheap. We have an entire resort right now to ourselves. And I mean that literally. Yeah. So we have, I don't know how many rooms are here, but it's kind of like having your own Rockefeller home or something.
So, okay. So I'm going to stop you there because you're putting out so many cool little gems and jump off points for additional conversations. And I also promised the listeners, I want to back it up and just introduce who you are. I was really fascinated that you're staying in a Marriott. This is Roy Meyer. He's been traveling with his family, his wife and 2 kids, for now over 1,000 days, if I remember the last time I heard her. Somewhere close to 1,000 days, right? In a row.
Yeah, we're over 1,000, almost 3 years full-time.
Almost 3 years full-time, folks. So, Roy, I think you know how very cool of a lifestyle you live. And I know that there's definitely, it's not all sugar plums and cherry blossoms, I'm sure, right? There's definitely the dark side, which maybe we'll talk a little bit about today, some of the challenges, and maybe there's not, maybe I'm making that up. But it's really fascinating that over 1,000 days on the road. Most people don't get to travel 1,000 days in their lifetime. if you add up all the vacations and think about it, and I know that you are super grateful and humble and love and so appreciative that you've created this lifestyle for yourself and your family. But man, I just want to acknowledge you for doing just that, for literally creating this lifestyle for you and your family. What an amazing learning experience for all of you. So before I give you a chance to really talk more about that, I want to properly introduce you. I don't actually have a full bio for you, but I know that you are a phenomenal entrepreneur and businessman. We met a few years back at a mutual friends networking event. As you know, we shared the same stage. I know you get on a lot of stages around the world, as do I. And I just have a ton of respect for you, for your businesses that you've run. Obviously, you can share whatever you'd like to about them today. And I'm just really fascinated that you've been able to create this kind of life for you and your family. So today we're going to talk about that journey. We're going to talk about the ups, the downs, the mindset, the faith that it takes to actually make the choice in the first place, and then the very unique experience that you're actually having right now in the time of COVID that you've shared with me. It's a very unique time to travel. And is it possible for those listeners out there to actually do it right now? There's obvious restrictions. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. So welcome to the show again, Roy. I'm so blessed to have this conversation with you. And let's jump in. Is there anything you wanted to share based on what I just said, or anything else to introduce yourself? Why don't we start there? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
No, well, once again, it's great to be here, Clinton. Really excited to be on the show and share whatever I can. And, as we go through today, I think really just sharing what is really possible, because, even we had some hesitations up front about, can we really do this? Yeah. And, having gone through this journey now for almost 3 years, it is addicting. As the more you do it, the more you want to do it, the more you see, the more you realize how much you haven't seen. And so I'm excited to share, from all the perspectives of the good, the bad, what we've gone through, to do it as a family. We have a 12 and a 14-year-old right now as well that we do that. And a lot of people think you can't travel with kids. Yeah. And so we can share a little bit about that as well. But it is, for anybody considering it, it is an amazing lifestyle. It's an amazing opportunity. The world is an amazing place, and just the vision that opens up for you as you get out and expand your world it's I'm really excited to share today.
Awesome. Well, feel free to direct and guide wherever you'd like this conversation to go. I have a series of about 50 questions. We're not going to be able to get through all of them today, but I'm really fascinated with this. As you know, my wife and I, we travel a lot, and I'm a speaker, so I speak a lot around the world, but we want to rent out our house next year, and we're going to go for it. We're going to do it in the US first, and then we're going to go abroad after that. So learning from the master today, learning from the master. And let's take us back to when you first started. I have a few questions around when you first got started. You first had the idea. First of all, whose idea was it? Was it your idea, your wife's idea, your children's idea? Whose idea was it? Do you remember?
It was my idea, going to a lot of events, just in short on that. I remember there was a couple of people I follow, and they would always start off on the big screen, all of their world destinations. And I used to always sit there and dream like, wow, I could never do that. Or gosh, I would love to do that. So it was really my idea that I came to my wife with. And I came to her one day and just said, out of the blue, by the way, what would you think if we just sold everything we own and just traveled the world full time?
What did she say? What was her response?
And she looked at me, she's like, can we leave tomorrow? And so,
wow, nice.
So I was, I wasn't surprised, but I was a little surprised because it really had been stirring in me for a little while. And so we just decided to go for that. And so it was my idea. I brought it up to her, and she was on board from the very, very second that I brought it up.
That's amazing. Okay, so this was about 3 years ago, a little over 3. And what were you doing at the time? I'm assuming you were an entrepreneur and had businesses then. Give us kind of a broad level overview of what kind of business you were in at the time. And let's start getting into the conversation of what did you have to do to prepare yourself to actually make that choice?
Sure. So I have a real estate business in Southern California, that was doing well, is still doing well. So, but it was it was successful, but if you really look at true success when you're working 80 hours a week, that's really not success. you know, in my eyes, no matter what kind of money you're making. And so just we're really getting tired of the grind. I also have had a coach, or have a coaching program, an online group coaching program, mastermind program, and that was doing pretty well as well. But I tell you, you know, we, especially in Southern California, you get so wrapped up in the rush of things. You get so wrapped up in the busyness of things. You get so wrapped up in the keeping up with things, and you end up having these blinders on, or at least we did, and the world is flying by you, you know, and sometimes we don't even realize it. And, you know, I kind of took a look at what we were doing and just said, wow, there's got to be more to life than paying bills, getting a few trips in, and what have not. So you really started to stir this fire in me for changing the perspective of what we were doing with their life. Now, we also had kids later in life. We went from being told that we couldn't have children to having children later in life. And, you know, we didn't want to wait until we were, you know, retirement age or until they were out of high school to really experience life as well. And so we actually had a family meeting. This is, you know, a family decision, and we all, you know, agreed on the decision to move forward. And so we knew that we could come up with many more reasons not to do this than to do it. And we always going to have those voices in your head going, okay, well, you don't have enough money. You don't have this set up. Well, what about this? And those played over and over and over again. But we were so set to do this, Clinton. What we did is, so we would not back out on this journey, we told everybody we knew, family, friends, passengers on the bystanders on the street, that we were going to do this journey. So there was no way we could back out.
Nice.
So we would have to really, you know, to save face, we had to do this. So that was how we actually made the commitment, by just really telling everybody we were going to do this. And actually, it was funny, you know, as we're, I think it was in February of 2017 when we talked about initially doing it. And then we're like, okay, well, that's 9 months. And we started prepping, telling people. But then we got to about June, July, and we're like, are we really doing this? Wow. Then we got to August, like, are we still really doing this? And then, you know, we started having the garage sales. We sold everything we owned. And you know, that helped to the commitment to actually make it happen. But as far as what I was doing, I did have a real estate business that, go ahead.
What was the timeline from when you said you wanted to do it and when you set the date, and then how long did it take before you took off?
So that would be about 8 months, 8.5 months.
Wow. Okay. And so you had your real estate business, you had your coaching mastermind for the real estate industry. Okay.
And so, but, you know, so I wanted to give myself enough time to really prep and say, okay, can I do this? How do I need to structure things? Can I do this remotely with my business? And, you know, I'll be upfront with it. It was a little bit scary because I did have to give up my biggest paying client to do this.
Talk to me about that. So it was
a real leap of faith. I had one particular client that required me to actually be in person and do some things. Right. And that was probably close to half of our income. Woo. So we had to make a decision. Can I make that income up? Is this something we can do? We know our cost of living would go way down. And, but that was a scary point, especially when you have kids, to give up half of your income to go on this global journey. So.
Were the kids on board right away?
My son was on board immediately. My daughter, you know, she had a lot of friends, and so she was a little bit hesitant. And it's kind of hard, you know, at that time they're 8 and they're 11.
11-ish, yeah.
So it's kind of hard to really paint the entire picture. So she was a little bit more hesitant.
And she was 8 and he was 11, right? She was 8 and he was 11?
So my son was 11 and she was 8 at the time.
Got it.
So,
okay.
But I tell you, I think we've ruined them. But I can't imagine now they are ever going to want to have a regular job, or they are not ever going to want to travel.
What? You're teaching them some of the best lessons on the planet. You know, every time I talk to a young person, Roy, I tell them about my best experiences as a young man were always traveling. You know, when I was in grad school, I went and lived in Brazil. I lived in Singapore. I traveled all through Southeast Asia. And I actually was by myself. And there's something to be said about single travel as well, by the way, a whole nother topic. But there's a lot you can learn. We learn so much about ourselves and about the world and about culture. that it's so powerful. So you're giving them a massive gift. And I know you and I spoke privately about your son becoming an entrepreneur, a digital nomad, and that's super exciting. So cool. So cool.
Yeah,
So
and just on top of that,
yeah, go
Clinton,
ahead.
one of the things with and this one I'll be about kids, but what I was really excited about for our kids
Yeah.
is they're at such an impressionable age,
Mm,
and there's so much influence from media, news, peer pressure, whatever the case might be, and we wanted them to be able to experience the world and form their own opinions firsthand, meeting different people, meeting different cultures, being exposed to different things
yeah.
before they really got, all of the outside noise coming into them.
Right.
And so that's really been fascinating. And even from the learning perspective, I mean, we had one time where within 8 days they were experiencing the Colosseum in Rome,
Mm,
and 8 days later we were walking around the pyramids in Egypt. So from a learning perspective, to actually be seeing that and learning it and feeling it and touching it was really incredible for them. And then also just all the friends they've made from different people and cultures has really been a lot of fun to watch their growth as well.
yeah, I've been following you from the very beginning. I literally like know the pictures you're talking about. I know what I know exactly the stories you're talking about. So I've been following you from the very beginning, and some of the things I've really enjoyed, and you referenced this earlier with staying at the Marriott, right? You've been able to build such amazing relationships with people
Yeah.
that really seem like meaningful relationships. Like they care about you.
Yeah.
You're like part of the family. I see your son and daughter in the back with the chef, like learning how to be a chef. Are you kidding me? Like these epic experiences that you just can't buy these experiences. It's once in a lifetime. So kudos to you again on that. Super cool. So
Exactly right on that. And just, on that, even here, we just checked in here a couple days ago, and my son, one of the staff here, is an excellent piano player. So we're going to be here for probably a couple months. And so he's already taking piano lessons,
awesome.
from a staff member here. So yeah, lots of, additional, friends that we made and things we get to do here at the Marriott.
Very cool. Now, I want to talk about some of the sexy things about the places you've been and some of the fun stories, and maybe get into like maybe some tips for people when they're traveling. But before we get there, I really, I talk a lot about faith, right? And I don't mean necessarily religious faith or spiritual faith. I mean just sort of a knowingness and a trust in yourself and in whatever your higher power is that guides you, whatever your guiding source is. And there had to have been some level of that level of faith and kind of knowingness that you're doing the right thing, even though, and I talk a lot about this, Roy, where I feel like the magic in our lives, where we really come alive and where amazing things happen, is at the intersection between that knowingness that you're doing the right thing and the unknowingness of how you're actually going to pull it off or how it actually is going to turn out. That magical sort of intersection between that knowingness and that faith that you're going in the right direction and the total unknowingness and uncertainty of how's this going to turn out. That's where the magic happens. So I want to talk a little bit about your experience of whatever you might call it, of that feeling of knowing that you're doing the right thing and you're going for it. And then what did you experience after being out on the road with a lot of probably uncertainty in the space of just traveling? Where are you going next? Where are you going to live? How's your business going to work? So talk to us a little bit about that concept of faith and what you've experienced on your journey. What's opened up for you and your family, perhaps?
Yeah, faith and also belief is a big part of it. So, we really had to have the faith that we could do this, that I was going to be able to replace some of that income, that the faith that our kids were going to be okay. And so that was really, and especially when you have half of your friends and half of your family, half are saying, gosh, I wish we could do that. The other half are saying, you're crazy. You're going to, what are you running away from? You're ruining your kid's life, and so we've lost, some friends, and we've lost some close relationships with family as well, just because they don't agree or understand what we're doing.
Right.
So faith does play a big part of it, and also the belief in yourself.
Mm.
And for me, this is something we really wanted to do. We finally just said, what's the worst that happens?
Right.
The worst that happens is it doesn't work. We come back, we buy more stuff, and we get back into the rat race we were in before.
Right.
So what's the worst that's going to happen? It doesn't work out. So for me, the fear of not going after my dreams was much greater than not going after this and always having a regret that we didn't give it a try. And so, that was just something I couldn't live with and that we couldn't live with, that you don't chase your dreams, or you don't go after them, or you're too fearful, or you don't know everything so you don't go after those. And for me, what I kind of thrive on as well is being put in a situation where I have to perform. And just the belief in myself. Okay, I'm going to make it happen. What am I capable of? And always pushing myself. And this is one of those things where, all right, I'm going to give up half my income, but is that going to elevate me to a new level? Is that going to push me beyond what I know I can do now? And it certainly has. And I know, Clinton, we've had this discussion as well, which I'm excited for you. I had one of my coaches and dear friends tell me, Roy, when you do this, you are going to have so many opportunities that are going to open up to you that you can't even fathom or understand right now. You are going to have so many incredible new relationships that are going to open up and that you can't understand or can't fathom right now. And that has absolutely played out. Not only have we replaced that income, but even more so, but the relationships we've built, the opportunities we've had now have been just, through the roof on that. But faith played a really big part of that, especially when you have your own internal noise telling you can't, or questioning what you're doing. But even more so when you have half of your friends, half of your family, adding to that noise, it really, you really have to even have a stronger faith to go forward with that. But like I said, for me, it was more the belief in myself. I didn't want to live life with any regrets. Life goes by extremely fast. And, before you know it, you're looking back and I just didn't want to live with regrets.
So it sounds like, Roy, the fear of the regret of not doing it, had you not done it, was much greater than the potential fear of any potential quote unquote failure or not being able to do it. And you could always come home. I love that. I love that. That's wonderful. So tell us a little bit about, like, you had this faith to go, you had this belief in yourself, and you were really driven to create this opportunity for yourself and your family. Give us an example of what is something that maybe seemingly miraculous that showed up along the way that you had no idea was even possible, or it wasn't even on the radar, something that was that thing that you weren't expecting, that you kind of referenced. What's an example of something like that that's happened along the way? And then what else has opened up for you from that?
So you mean like an unexpected step, or something that's come about unexpected? Well, I mean, one of it would be the Marriott for sure. We never expected to be spending 1,000 nights at the, at the Marriott. So that was definitely unexpected. But, I'll give you an example. When we were in Panama.
Yeah,
and,
I remember that.
We had a great time in Panama. And out of the blue, one day we're walking along, the waterfront down there, and end up meeting some people from Keller Williams' office.
Yeah.
And so in regard to real, and we started talking and having a great time. And, I love marketing. I love video and all that kind of stuff. And then the next thing you knew, the next day I was giving a presentation in their office, and now they're beginning to hire me to do some consulting and marketing for them as well. Nice. And so, lots of different opportunities that have happened business-wise. So that would be a small one. Okay. For our kids, watching their growth, how could I put this in a framework? Everywhere we go has been amazing. But I'm trying to think more particular, just those opportunities. For me, it's been business-wise, that we have, the doors have opened for me, and so many people are intrigued about what we're doing.
Yeah.
So we've had so many more people now asking, how do you do that? And kind of like, is that possible? And, sharing with them that it absolutely is. For our kids, the opportunities I'm really excited about, Clinton, is the world that this has opened up for them.
Yeah.
Now they have friends literally all over the world. There is probably very few places in the world they don't have connections they could go to tomorrow. They're not old enough to travel on their own right now, but that they could go to tomorrow and be able to be comfortable and safe and experience the world like, probably very few kids have had the chance on that. So I'm not sure that really answered the question.
No, it did. It absolutely did. And let's talk a little bit about some of the places that you've been. I don't even know that you could remember all of them. You've probably been to so many, but maybe you can. What are some of your highlights, locations that you've really enjoyed and that your family's really enjoyed?
So when we took off on this journey, Clint, it's interesting because all you really think about is, gosh, I can't wait to see this. I can't wait to go there. I can't wait to do this. And, picking a favorite country is almost like picking a favorite child at this point.
Yeah.
and one of the downsides about doing what we're doing, if you can call it a downside, is you don't have a lot of reflective time, meaning you're always seeing new places, experiencing new things. Normally you go on a vacation, you come back and you reflect on, gosh, wasn't that a great time? And you play the photos back and you just kind of relive that moment. For us, we're always moving forward. And so we don't really think back about like, wow, what did we just do last month? Because there's always this new adventure in front of us. So we've decided now on what we're going to do every Friday is going to be family photo and video night, where we replay some of the things that we've done over this journey and remember and appreciate, because that has been one downside. It's just like, wow, when we look back, it's been amazing what we've seen and done. In regards to favorite places, once again, when we took off on this journey, it was like, wow, we're going to see this amazing world, which we have. But it really, honestly, is the people we've met along the way. The people make the places. There's so many beautiful places around the world, but it's really the people. We slow travel. And so I know a lot of people travel in different ways that work for them. What we'd like to do is we like to go for 30 to 90 days. Now, Bali, we might end up being here in Indonesia for a year by the time COVID's over. But we like to slow travel. And the reason we like to slow travel, we like to be able to really experience the culture, really get to know the people, really make good relationships and solid relationships. And you can't do that if you're just going somewhere for a day or two or a week or whatever the case might be. So that's for us what's really important. And it's not so much the places, but really the people and the connections, which has made our trip. Now, I will share one of the surprise places that we went to that we absolutely loved, and we've loved all of them. But when we were in Spain, we don't plan very far ahead. We never know what country we're going to go to. We've even done the spin the bottle on the table a couple of times, like, all right, let's just see where it lands on the map and let's go there.
That was my next question, to tell us how you choose. So you spin the bottle. Okay.
But we almost were there. But, we were in Madrid at the time. And we were thinking, where are we going to go from Madrid? And we were in Panama prior to that. And so I was just, doing a little research on the internet, and I found this place called Fuerteventura. I can barely even pronounce it yet. And I looked at these amazing prices, amazing lodging, amazing low rates. And it was off the coast of Africa, over by Morocco, but it's still a Spanish island. And so I showed it to my wife. I said, what do you think about Fuerteventura? And she's like, what's a Fuerteventura? And it's part of the Canary Islands. And so we went there. We were going to go just for a month. We ended up spending 2 months, but it was the most incredible, beautiful, fun experience that we didn't see coming. And it's those little hidden gems sometimes that you don't think about going, where sometimes are the most fun. And in regard to how do we determine where we're going to go, for us, it depends on a few things. One, cost, obviously. We're traveling with 4 people. So what are the cost of the flights to get there? What is the cost of the lodging? Is it low season? Is it high season? Is it going to be high tourist time? Do we have to get a visa, or can we just go there on a passport? Like most of the countries we've been to so far, I'd say probably 60% have been passport only. Can we stay 30 days? Can we stay 90 days? Can you extend a visa, or do you have to leave? So there's a lot of things that goes into our thinking when we get ready to go to another country. So for instance, when we were in Jamaica, we were trying to figure out where we're going to go from here. And my kids happened to be studying about the Panama Canal. We're like, well, that's just a flight away. What if we go over to Panama? And it happened to be the same time as the Mardi Gras. And then when we were in Panama, we were like, where are we going to go next? And we saw these really great deals to Madrid for like $150. We're like, wow, $150 flights to Madrid. Let's go to Madrid. And then when we were in Madrid, I found that place in Fuerteventura. And then we were in Fuerteventura. We're like, well, what are we going to do next? And we're like, gosh, we've always wanted to, we're in this part of the world. Gosh, Egypt sounds great. Let's shoot down to Egypt. And then, and sometimes we'll take turns on our bucket list of things places where we want to go. So there's no rhyme or reason for the most part. We do, like right now we're in Southern or Southeast Asia. We'd like to hit this area for the most part, and then probably come back and visit family maybe for a month in the US here next year, and then maybe go on a different track like up to Europe if that opens up from COVID. But, it's so moving forward for us, it's really a cost. Is a high season, is low season, is a visa, is a passport, how long can we stay?
So many questions. Oh my goodness, so many questions. This is great. So one thing I got out of what you just said was, you didn't say these words, but I got be flexible and follow your intuition. If you see something that's a good deal and you've always wanted to go, why not go there, right? If it makes sense, but be flexible. You don't really have a hard and fast, we're going here and then here and then here. And I would imagine that lends, that provides a little more comfortability and fun to the whole experience, to just kind of be in the moment and go where you feel called.
Yep, absolutely. And sometimes it'll pertain to business. Like I do have several international clients, and we may have to go to like India or the Philippines or some of those areas, and I may have to do a little bit of work there. But but generally, it's just kind of a group decision on what looks like fun, and we want to keep this exciting and learning for the kids as well, as we move forward. So
do you guys speak any other languages? You or anyone in the family?
Say it again, Clinton.
Do you speak any other languages besides English? You or anyone in the family?
I wish I did. I took German all the way through college, which then moving into Nebraska, which then moving to Southern California didn't really serve me too well in Southern California. However, my wife is a sign language interpreter, which has served us well on various occasions as we traveled. But my son and daughter are amazing learners. And so they're kind of in charge of learning a new language when we're in a different country. So my son can speak like Ilonggo in the Philippines. He's learning some the language here in Bali as well. They also are doing Duolingo. And so every day they are doing their language studies on Duolingo. So I think my son just hit his 500th day on Spanish. They're all doing Spanish on Duolingo, so we hope to be able to use that. So to answer your question, unfortunately, I don't, but they absolutely do, and it's fun to watch them and learn those as well.
So Duolingo is an app, I would imagine? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to write that down. I'm sure the listeners will be writing that down as well as a nice little tip. So as far as you talked about coming back to visit family, I'm curious what it's been like. I know everybody's family is different. I have my nuclear family's in Massachusetts and I live in San Diego. So I already only see them twice a year when there's not COVID. And it's important. Family is one of my top values and it is important. So I'm just curious, you seem like quite the family guy. I don't know how extensive your extended family is, but how often do you come back and what is it like? Is it challenging, especially with, I know some of the folks that you said that you connect with or in your family and outside your family, they don't really believe in what you're doing. Like how often do you come back to see family and what's that like?
Yeah, and that is a tough part, being gone. And those are, one of those sacrifices that you have to weigh as you do this. In 3 years, we've only been back one time. And
wow, okay.
So we were in, like, as of right now, this coming, well, here in a few more months, it will be 2 years since we've actually been back.
Got it.
So we came back, it was in December, I think the second year we were on the road, because my mom became ill. So we were in Malaysia and all settled in there, and we got a call and we had to go back. So we ended up going back for about 5 or 6 weeks. So we've only been back one time. Now, fortunately, or I should say fortunately, but like you, my family is in the Midwest. And so I lived in, near you in San Diego as well. We're in Temecula. And so we only had the opportunity to go back once or twice already. So we already were doing a lot of virtual, the Zoom calls and the Skype calls and what have not. Carrie's family is in Southern California. So when we do go back, it's a little bit of a challenge because you have multiple states you kind of got to get to. Everybody's going to want to see you and be a piece of you. We want to see everybody as well.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you, Clinton, it's interesting. Having been traveling now for almost 3 years, aside from family, we're already almost dreading coming back and saying, okay, how quickly can we get back on the road? And we haven't even come back yet.
Wow.
You know, because there's so much opportunity and amazing places to go and what have not. So, so family's important, but we are, you know, we talk every week with my family, Carrie's family. The kids are on with their grandparents, talking with them. So we, you know, we're in such a different world virtual wise now that it makes it much easier. You know, you don't get the personal hugs and personal touch, but you know, it's made it much easier to do that. Now, in regard to family, just one other point on that. One of the reasons we did this is, you know, when we were near you over there, I mean, we had a huge 4,200 square foot home, you know, but half the time I didn't even know where my kids were in the house. You know, everybody had their room, they had a different part of the house they were hanging out. And what I love about what we're doing right now, Clint, is we're in much smaller spaces where we are always somewhat congregated together. And we are getting so much more quality time together. And it's so much of a better experience than, I don't want to say it was a bad experience before, but that's something when we're talking about family, for our own family, we're getting a much better connection. We're interacting every day. We're seeing every day. I think every day in the last 1,000 days, we've had breakfast and dinner together and most lunches together as a family.
That's amazing.
You know, so it's been great from that perspective from a family, but it will be a challenge when we come back, for sure. But we'll see when that's going to be. You know, with this COVID, you know, we just don't even know where that's, you know, when that's going to happen. So.
Do you have nothing in sight as of right now to come back? Besides, you know, when you come back to visit family once in a while, but you guys are loving it so much that you don't really see an end to this currently. Is that what I'm hearing you say, or?
You know, honestly, once you really get on the you know, if it's travel is something you're interested in, you know, everybody has a different lifestyle that they want to pursue. If it's travel, awesome. If not, you know, whatever your ideal lifestyle is, if it's travel and it's something you really want to do, it really gets into your blood. We've always traveled a little bit, you know, and loved it, but it is so freeing and you just want to do more. And honestly, Clinton, I don't know that we are going to stop doing this maybe forever. I don't know. Nice. I don't know if we will ever settle back down. I cannot even imagine having a 30-year mortgage again. It would almost be like a ball and chain to my ankle.
Right.
And for us, because we really jumped off the cliff, you know, we sold everything we own. We have one suitcase each. That's all we have. It is so freeing and so addicting. And to go from the extreme of having the big fancy house with the pool and the cars and blah, 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 down to bare necessities, you really get to appreciate life. You really get to free up your mind. You really get to free up your experiences. And
let's dig into that a little bit more, Roy, around freedom, because, you know, the people that follow me and follow this show, it's all about freedom lifestyle and how do we make money on the move? Not that it's all about making money, but if we want to travel around the world, we kind of have to have a little bit of money sometimes. So absolutely. Freedom lifestyle, you said the word free and freedom several times in the last 30 seconds. So I would love for you to dig a little bit more into that experience of freedom. Like, when did you notice that? Did you notice it right away? How did you notice it? What's the most poignant experience of freedom for you on this experience?
So, you know, freedom can look a lot different to a lot different people, you know, to different people, obviously. For me, you know, the freedom is, I didn't want my kids to grow up without me. So I have the freedom to work when I want to work. I have the freedom to experience what we want to experience. I have the freedom to grow up with my kids and be an influence in their lives. You know, I have the freedom to, as a parent, to be able to have every single meal with my family. Now, some families may not want that. And really the freedom is to be able to go anywhere we want to go, really. We have this lifestyle freedom that it's hard to let go of, and I can't imagine moving forward we ever will. Now, a lot of people think you have to have a ton of money to do this. Now, do you have to have money? Absolutely, you have to do it. But
Yeah,
when we
talk to us
left
about
Clinton,
that.
it's interesting because our expenses living in Southern California to when we left are about half or less
Mm.
of what we were spending in California. You can do this on an extremely, budget friendly, or you go as low or as high as you want. And we have met some incredible people on all ends of the spectrum
Mm.
in regard to that. But traveling, it's amazing when you don't have, by us letting go all the things we had in the U.S., we don't have all of those expenses. We don't have, we have a different health insurance now. We don't have a car payment. We don't have a utility payment. We don't have a house payment. We don't have, the cable payment. We don't have all of those things. It just so frees you up, even financially, to take this on. So just know moving forward that it's very inexpensive. And a great way to start is in Southeast Asia, because you really get spoiled there because it's very affordable on what you can do and experience, and versus maybe going to some places in Europe and what have not. So, but for me, my business is mostly online already.
Right.
I still have to kind of share what's possible. I'm a big outsourcing guy. I love working with virtual assistants, as you know. I teach it in the Philippines. I teach it in India. I would do a lot of that with my clients as well, because it just provides you with a freedom lifestyle. And so for me, I probably couldn't do the lifestyle that we're having and with my different businesses without my virtual team. 100%.
Great
That
tip.
has allowed me to create this lifestyle. To give you an idea of what my virtual team looks like, which you don't have to do this, but this is what works for me. I have my office manager in the States for my real estate business in Southern California. She just moved to Portland. So she's running my California real estate business, but she's actually in Portland. So she's a virtual assistant running that there for the most part. I have a tech team in India that I've had for 18 years now, and which was really, side story, Clinton, was funny. I've had them for like 17, 18 years. I'd never met them. We went to India and met them for the very first time. These are people that worked for me for like 17 years and never met them personally. So it was really another fun story. I actually have a team in the Philippines that do some various things for our business as well. I have a project manager in Slovenia that kind of manages, our projects and keeps things moving forward. I have a bookkeeper in India who is phenomenal. That is good as any bookkeeper in the States at a fraction of the price. So I have a virtual team that I have built around me that has made it affordable for us to do what we're doing. And so when we talk about living in the world that we're in right now, we're in a global space. And many times people don't realize there's so much more opportunity. We get so focused on the U.S. and we love the country. We love our country, the U.S. without question. But also, we're in a global world, and the more people you meet, they're all just trying to do the same with us. They're trying to have a great life, provide for the family, and I'd like to see more of the international borders broke down, and we work together more as a world than always breaking it down just as a country, because there are some amazing people and opportunities out there. So, but money-wise, I still run my businesses now, Clinton. They are doing better than they ever have without me being present.
Wow.
My coaching programs are growing because people want to do or experience some of the things that we're doing. My real estate business is doing, just fine without me there. And sometimes we have this mindset that people can't do things as well as us, or we have to do it all. And the more you can let go of those things in your business that don't require you or not your highest income generating activities, the more you're going to prosper. So I think that's probably a roundabout answer to your question. I'm not even sure I answered the question.
No, I love it. You gave some great goodies there. And for those of you listening on the podcast and not seeing the video, you're hearing some amazing birds in the background because Roy is on this epic beach in Lombok, you said, right?
Yep.
Lombok, Indonesia, correct?
Indonesia, yeah.
And you just came from the Gili Islands, or is this one of the Gili Islands? This is a different island.
We were just in the Gili Islands, and so now we're over here in Lombok, which is spectacular on
awesome.
that. So.
So that's why you're hearing the birds in the background. This is a true traveler all around the world. I've got a couple quick hitter questions for you, and
Sure.
then anything else you want to talk about before I ask you to share how we can support you. Any other topics that maybe we missed that you want to make sure to let the listeners know. But I want to talk a little bit about a couple of really quick hitter questions, just really short answers. Health insurance, do you have any recommendations? And obviously you're not an insurance guy, so I'm not taking, professional advice here. Just what have you found to really work for health insurance? That's one quick question.
Yeah, so absolutely. Now, the first thing if you're going to get ready to travel, you absolutely have to do travel insurance.
Yeah.
It's a backup to what your regular insurance might be, which I'll talk about, but you absolutely have to get travel insurance. And so that's part of the insurance that you have. We're actually looking to switch companies, and I'll share down the road who we're going to switch to. We're working through that. For us, the insurance we had in the U.S. would not cover us. So the Obamacare does not cover you if you're traveling. So if you're out of the country, that is not going to apply to cover you. So what we had switched to is actually a Christian plan, but it's not a religious plan, so to speak. It's a health share. And so we switched over to a company called Liberty.
Got it.
And what we have found, actually, I wish we had done this sooner, Clinton. We now have far better insurance than we had before. And we are paying about 20% of what our premium was in the States. And it covers us internationally.
That's amazing.
So as a family, we have the top plan, and it just got increased, but now we're paying like $550 a month for the top plan. And it allows us to choose our own doctors. It allows us, there's no restrictions. And it's something I wish I had actually done sooner. So, but make sure you have health insurance, or I'm sorry, make sure you have travel insurance.
Right.
And then also, check out some of the different health share insurance programs that are out there. And that's what we have. And it's actually worked. We've had to use it, before, and it's been proven for us. So.
Got it. Excellent. That's excellent information. And then just ballpark costs, what would you say and I know everybody's different, but what would be like the bare minimum monthly expenses if you're kind of going to the countries that aren't, and maybe it's just an average. You go to some countries that are a little more expensive, and then you go to some countries in Southeast Asia that are very, very inexpensive. Is there kind of a ballpark, like bare minimum, that somebody could even just wrap their head around to see if this is even possible for them? Per month?
Absolutely. A bare minimum is, it'll depend if you're single, obviously, or if you're a family. Yeah. But you could absolutely travel on $50 a day. That includes your lodging, your meals, factoring in your travels, factoring in different excursions that you might want to do. So if you're single, you could absolutely do it on $50 a day without question.
That's amazing.
For that. And one thing you want to learn that we're still learning as we go is to be able to play the points game with the airlines and hotels, and that's something you want to do right from the get-go. Getting a good credit card that is going to be able to accumulate points for you or get you miles. So that's something you want to study up on before you leave, because that is so important, and that can pay huge dividends for you down the road. And just, I'll give you a perspective on that. When we were in Spain, we spent a month in Spain, and we didn't pay for a penny of the hotel.
Nice.
That was all covered on points and what have not. Right now, we've accumulated enough points through different modos that we could probably do close to 8 months of free travel with airlines and what have not. So that's a game you definitely want to learn. Now, as a family, you could absolutely, depending on what part of the world you're going to go to, our budget that we try to stay under is $200 a day. Mm-hmm. Now, that's a little bit on the upper end, but that includes all of our expenses. That's, our flights if we go somewhere, our meals for 4 people, our lodging if we go out and do excursions, all of the other expenses we have. And we've been able to do that, and many times it's less. That's kind of a range, somewhere between there. We know other families that maybe are in the $250, $300 range, but we have no qualms with what we're doing in regard to our budget on that. So answer your question, and to give you, for instance, we're just in the Gili Islands, beautiful, beautiful area. And we were looking at some lodging places that were $10 a night.
Wow.
You know, if you're single, and they had Wi-Fi, clean, near the beach. You know, it's some amazing deals out there. And then typically what you'll do is, you know, if you don't have great Wi-Fi, I always like going to the co-working spaces,
Oh yeah.
which is one of the things I love about that, which is kind of another topic, is I like when we go somewhere is find out what are some of the most popular co-working places that people are going to. And the reason I do that is I love going to meet other people, and I love
Yes.
going to meet other nomads. And to give you, for instance, when we were in Forteventura, I met a couple brilliant marketers from Italy that have
Hmm.
some marketing agencies, and we're still in contact today. And we share information and go back and forth. But the people that you can meet there, not only will it open your minds to other experiences and what they're doing, but many times they know what's going on around. You know, hey, where are the
Yeah.
great deals? Where are the great places to go? Where are the great places to eat? Where are the great places to stay? So, you know, so a couple of tips on that, but you
That's
can do it very inexpensively.
That's great advice, Roy. So I'm hearing about $50 a day, and you can obviously go, plus or minus on that. And I'm
Yeah.
curious, when you say play the points game, I know that you have the opportunity to either fly the same airline, stay at the same hotel, which probably is a little more challenging to do around the world airline wise, because you're going to be flying a lot of maybe lesser known airlines perhaps in different countries. Do you do it that way where you choose an airline and choose a hotel and stay? Obviously with Marriott, it looks like you probably did that. Or do you get a credit card that you can just accumulate points no matter where you stay? What's the preferred method there for both airlines and hotels?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a one size fits all, but typically, you know, you're going to want to research out the credit cards that are not only going to accumulate points. Like for us at a Marriott, you know, we want to have a Chase card that also quadruples the Marriott points you already get.
Yeah.
You know, so you just want to find out what's got the best benefits, what's going to get you the most points, what is not going to have international fees, you know, when you're hitting the ATMs and whatever the case might be as well,
Of course.
for that, and just what's going to get you the most value. You know, it may not even be something that's tied to a hotel. It might just be something that gives you a lot of points, you know, every time you spend. But it's
Right.
something that's really important. And I wish we, honestly, Clinton, I wish we would have researched that a lot more before we left, because
Okay.
we started doing that on the fly, and we left a lot of money and opportunity on the table by not really understanding that game before we took the leap.
So it sounds like that's a great hack right there and just a great tip for the audience. It sounds like the credit card points are more important than choosing the same airline every single time. Obviously, if you can do that, you're gonna help yourself in both ways. But it sounds like you have a little more flexibility with the credit cards. If you dial in with a credit card that's really, really good, that you can get the points. That's kind of what I'm hearing, or did I mishear that?
Yeah, and with the airlines, you know, with us, the same airlines aren't always available, and many
Right.
times, even like in Southeast Asia, you know, you're flying China Air or Thai Air somewhere, and you know your flights are $10.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
amazing.
to fly. So and also what group are those airlines part of? Because
Yeah.
those points sometimes play in the part of the group, you know, the airlines might be part of. And you know, and with airlines, I mean, you can buy points, you know, if you need. Sometimes with airlines, we have actually found it's fairly expensive on the site to buy it, and then we look like, wow, we can go in and actually buy these points for that airline, and it's like 30% cheaper to go buy these points and then apply the points for the tickets.
Oh my goodness.
So it's really important, once again, that you understand that game, because it makes it more affordable for you as you travel, when you can leverage the points and what you're doing. So
Got it. Okay. Well, Roy, as we wrap up here in the next couple of minutes, tell us what is it like to travel in the time of COVID, and is it possible for somebody that maybe wanted to start traveling in the time of COVID? Now, you found out about COVID while you were in Bali, and you chose to stay, and you kept on your journey. What has it been like? I know you said it's been a very unique travel experience, and then is it possible for someone to start traveling right now, in your opinion?
So, you know, we actually came to Bali for a marketing conference for a mastermind, and in February, not knowing we were going to be here for a year at that time. We did choose to stay. You know, we could have come back, but we chose to stay here. People right now, one of the things, Clinton, with the COVID, is there's so much fear being driven.
Yeah.
out there. Now, I think it's real. I think it's serious. I think we need to take it serious. But at the same token, the fear has been overwhelming on what's
Yes.
being projected.
Mhm.
And in regards to traveling for us right now, the way we look at this is any bad situation, it's really, how do you look at that situation? We can either, you know, tremble about it and just, worry about it, or how can we make this the best situation possible?
Mm.
For us right now, I think in the terms of COVID, who knows, but I think we're probably in a 2 to 3 year bubble before travel gets somewhat back to what it was.
Yeah.
And so the way we're looking at this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to see the world like you have never seen it before, to be able to experience places like you've never seen it before. And to give you an example, we were just in the Gili Islands. Normally in the Gili Islands, they'll have tens of thousands of people on these islands, and it's party central there. We went there and there were maybe 50. We got to
Wow.
see the beauty of this island without all of the outside noise. The sea turtles that had come back that we got to experience were amazing. We're here now in Lombok, which is a beautiful island. But once again, this is an opportunity where you don't have, even like in Bali, many times you're waiting for 4 hours to take a 2-second Instagram photo. So if you have the opportunity, that's how we look at it right now is, hey, let's take advantage of this. When will we ever get the opportunity to see the world without all the packed tourists, without all the packed airports, without all the incredible fees? Like this place where we're staying now, we wouldn't stay here, at the price they would normally charge. We're paying pennies on the dollar of what they would normally charge. It's an opportunity for us to really experience that. So that's how we look at this opportunity. Now, can you travel? Absolutely. Now, as I understand it right now, there's only a few countries that are accepting people from the U.S.
Right.
on that. So you have to kind of look, where can you go? What's going to open up? Now, our fear right now of leaving Indonesia is we leave, we can't come back. So even if we come back to the U.S. right now, our fear would be, okay, well, where can we go if we do come to the U.S.?
Got it.
So, but look at what's open. I think like places like Greece and the Bahamas and Mexico, and there are a host of other countries that are starting to open it. And I'm pretty sure, Clinton, as they develop the rapid testing, I think we're going to see some pretty quick advancements on testing over the next few months. It's going to make it a lot easier to travel for people. So, but I would say, just in closing on that, you have an amazing opportunity to see the world like you will never get the opportunity to see it again. And, so if you have that chance and can do that, I would absolutely do that. And one thing I forgot to mention, Clinton, that's really important when you're traveling that we didn't touch on, internet. And we didn't really talk about that. So wherever you're going, we actually make them send us screenshots of their internet speed. Like when we're thinking about different places where we're going to stay.
That's great.
I want to know, okay, I need to see a screenshot of the upload and the download speed.
That's great.
Because that's critical for my work. It's critical for our kids' homeschool. And so you don't want to go somewhere only to find out that you can't work or the internet doesn't work or whatever the case might be. So
I'm taking notes over here as we wrap up. You've given so many amazing tips and hacks. I was going to ask you, what are your top tips, but you've kind of given a lot of them already. And I know we need to wrap up here. Feel free to weave anything in here as we close, anything additional that you want to share. And I also want to find out, why don't we say, is there anything else that you haven't said yet that you just feel is just a massive tip or words of wisdom to anyone before we talk a little bit about how they can stay in connection with you? What are your parting words for people that are seeking that freedom lifestyle?
Just to kind of revamp a little bit, Clinton, on what we spoke about before. When we took off this journey, we really didn't know what to expect. We had the faith, had the belief we were going to make it work. And I knew I was going to have to push myself beyond my existing limits at the time. But what I was just sharing, it's so hard to put into words the space that we're in right now, both spiritually, mentally, physically. And it just becomes an addicting type of lifestyle, especially when you start meeting other like-minded people along the way. So, to be able to express looking back, where I was at 3 years ago, even myself, I am a completely different person than I was 3 years ago.
Mm.
You know, whether it's the relationships we build, the stronger bond with our family, the freeing lifestyle. And I think part of it, Clint, is also just getting all of this stuff out of your mind. It allows you to really clear your mind from all the stuff that we often think is so important. So if it's something that you're considering doing, you know, for us, I can't imagine, you know, being on the other side of the hill now and looking back, I can't imagine not having taken this journey. And I can't imagine what, looking back, what our life now will have been because of it versus what it would have been if we hadn't done it. It's just, I just, if it's something you're thinking about, I just can't, you know, encourage it enough, because it's hard to even put into words the fulfillment, the experience, the whatever the case might be. So
Wonderful. I love it. I love it. Helen Keller says life is a daring adventure or nothing at all. And I love that you
yes,
took that daring adventure, and you will not be regretting later on in life that I didn't do it. I didn't go for it. And it's such a perfect
exactly.
time right now. Granted, there is some restrictions, right? That's why my wife and I, we're going to start in the US and do an RV tour around the US. It's a little easier, and
Yeah.
hopefully things open up just a little bit. Although I am excited to continue to travel in sort of the quote unquote time of COVID next year, and going into 2022 when there is barely anybody out traveling. And I remember
That's,
seeing one of your videos of being in a game park, I believe
yeah.
it was in Dubai. And I think you were like the only one there. It was kind of creepy, not gonna lie to you, but kind of unique and very special
It
experience,
was
I'm sure,
weird.
as well.
It was definitely weird. And just, you know, on that, you bring up a great point, Clint, because, you know, we think travel, we think international many times, but it doesn't have to be international. Even
Yeah.
us, coming back to the U.S., we thought we ever had to come back to the U.S., we'd probably do the same thing in the U.S. There's a lot of places in the U.S. we haven't seen. So, you know,
Yeah.
travel can look different for different people. So,
Well, I wanna close by saying, Roy, first of all, it's wonderful to have you on today, and I want to know a little bit more about how we can support you and your brand and whatever your mission and cause is. I know your family, you call it the Winging It family. Love it. I follow you guys all over the place. But tell us how we can follow you, how we can get in touch with you. What can we do to support you on your mission?
yeah, just in closing on that, Clint, you know, really, you know, one of the things that we love to do, and one of my passions really, Clint, is being able to help others to be able to live their ideal life. You know,
Hmm.
when I'm working with my clients, I want to know, we don't get into business right at the beginning. I want to know what kind of lifestyle are we building towards, and now we're going to be making decisions and a framework to achieve that lifestyle, or build your business in a way that's going to support your lifestyle versus building a business you got to cram a lifestyle around. So we'd love to share information. You know, I'd love to have you follow me, you know, just really on social media. You know, you know, I'm at Roy Meyer TV. So on Instagram, you can search me at Roy Meyer TV. Same thing on Facebook and LinkedIn. I share a lot of great information there. And if you ever have any questions, just reach out to me through social media. I'm happy to help. I think really too, in closing, Clinton, one of the things that the most fulfilling of what we're doing is it's allowed us to also give back a lot. And so when, as we travel, we do a lot of outreach, and we get very active with the communities and get our kids active in the communities to be able to teach them on, you know, what's important moving forward. And so that's really important as well. I think that's probably one of the most fulfilling things that we do as well, being able to give back even more now on what we're doing. And that's really, you know, that's really what life is all about as well. So as far as, you know, following or anything you do to help me, I appreciate that. But, you know, if you'd like to follow along on our journey, if you'd like to get some great business tips and marketing tips, travel tips, you know, school tips, you know, follow me along on social media. I share a lot of great information there.
Excellent. So you heard it here, Roy Meyer TV. Follow him on social media, connect with him, and who knows? You know, there might be an opportunity to work with him in some capacity. I know a lot of people listening that have businesses want your kind of lifestyle. And I think you said something so beautiful in there. I want to have you say it one more time. And I'm so glad you said it, because I forgot to bring it up. And I believe it's one of the things you kind of stand for. And it was creating a business that fits your lifestyle versus creating a lifestyle that fits your business. I believe that's what you said. Is that how you
Yeah.
said it? Beautiful. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
And most people get that backwards. you know, and as they're building their business. They don't think about what they're trying to build towards, and the next thing you know, you're an employee of your own business.
Yes, and we don't want that. So awesome! It's such a pleasure, Roy. Congratulations again on creating this amazing life for you and your family. I totally acknowledge you, and I admire you, and I want to be you when I grow up. Oh my goodness! I know you're not that much older than me, but I want to do exactly what you're going to be, what you're doing, and I'm going to be doing it. And I know a lot of people listening are going to follow some of the tips to create that freedom lifestyle for themselves. So thanks again, and have a wonderful rest of your week, Roy.
Great. Thank you, Clinton. Thanks for having me, and thanks for everything you're doing for everybody as well. I love your show, and appreciate all you're doing. Appreciate you and your family as well.
Excellent. Take care, Roy.